Hello, Sarah. I was thinking we should talk about common errors German speakers make in English.
Hello, Emma. That sounds like a great idea. Let's help them with this.
Yes. It'll be a fun adventure. German speakers often struggle with word order in English.
Yes. In English, the subject usually comes before the verb, but in German, it can change.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, I go to the store, they might say, I to the store go.
Right. In English, it should be I go to the store. Subject, verb, then object.
Another common error is articles. Germans often skip a the.
Yes. Like saying dog is barking, instead of the dog is barking. It needs an article.
Exactly. Articles like a and the can be tricky, but they're so important in English.
Right. The is for something specific, and a or an is for something general.
Yes. For example, I saw a movie means any movie, but I saw the movie is specific.
Perfect example. Also, German speakers often confuse since and for when talking about time.
Yes. Instead of saying, I've lived here for 3 years, they might say, I've lived here since 3 years.
Exactly. In English, since is for a starting point, and for is for a duration of time.
That's right. So it's since 2020 or for 3 years. It helps to clarify time.
Another tricky area is the difference between learn and study. Germans often say learn when they mean study.
Yes. They might say, I am learning for an exam, but it should be, I am studying for an exam.
Exactly. Learn is about gaining knowledge, but study is the process of preparing.
Right. Another common mistake is with prepositions. Germans sometimes mix them up.
Yes, prepositions can be tough. For example, they might say, I go in the bus instead of I go on the bus.
Exactly. In English, we say on the bus, on the train, and in the car. It's confusing, but important.
Yes. Another one is at versus in. They might say, I am at home, when it should be I am in the home.
Yes, or vice versa. It should be at home, not in home. Prepositions change a lot in English.
Another error is with false friends words that look similar but mean different things.
Yes. For example, become in English means to turn into something, but in German, bekommen means to receive.
Exactly. A German speaker might say, I became a letter, when they mean, I received a letter.
Another example is sensible in English. It means practical, but in German, sensibel means sensitive.
Yes. They might say, he is very sensible when they mean he is very sensitive.
And the word actual in English is another tricky one. In German, aktuell means current, not real.
Right. So instead of the actual news, it should be the current news.
Let's talk about verbs. German speakers sometimes overuse the simple present tense.
Yes. They might say, I go to the store yesterday, but in English, we use the past tense, I went to the store yesterday.
Exactly. English relies a lot on tenses. So, I am going, I went, I will go are all different.
Right. Another thing is using will instead of going to for the future. Germans often say, I will go for everything.
Yes. but in English, we use going to for near future plans. Like, I'm going to eat dinner.
Exactly. Another challenge is with the progressive tense. Germans often forget to use am or is.
Yes. They might say, I go now, instead of I am going now. The present continuous is really important.
It really is. Let's talk about word order again. Germans sometimes place the verb at the end of the sentence.
Yes. For example, I will tomorrow to the store go, instead of I will go to the store tomorrow.
Right. In English, the verb should stay close to the subject. It's always I will go.
Another thing is using too many negatives. In English, we don't double up on them.
Yes. Germans might say, I don't have no time, but in English, we just say, I don't have time.
Exactly. In English, double negatives sound confusing, so we avoid them.
Another tricky part for German speakers is word stress. In English, stress changes the meaning of words.
Yes. For example, record as a noun versus record as a verb. Stress changes the meaning.
Exactly. Word stress is important in English for clear communication.
Let's talk about modal verbs. Germans sometimes misuse must and have to.
Yes. They might say, I must go now, but in English, it sounds more natural to say, I have to go now.
Exactly. Must is strong, and have to is more common for everyday situations.
Another error is with countable and uncountable nouns. Germans sometimes say much for everything.
Yes. They might say, I have much friends, but in English, it should be, I have many friends.
Exactly. Much is for uncountable things, like water, and many is for countable things, like friends.
Let's move on to articles again. German doesn't always use articles, but English does.
Yes. They might say, I go to school, but in English, it's I go to the school if you mean a specific one.
Exactly. Articles like the help us know if something is specific or general.
Another tricky part is using who and whom. Germans might confuse these.
Yes. Who is for the subject, and whom is for the object of a sentence.
Right. For example, who is calling? Versus whom did you call?
Let's talk about word choice. German speakers sometimes use literal translations that sound odd in English.
Yes. They might say, I make a party, but in English, we say, I throw a party.
Exactly. Or, I go by foot, when in English, it's I walk.
Yes. Literal translations don't always work in English, and that can cause confusion.
Another common mistake is with adjective order. Germans might mix up the order.
Yes. They might say, the blue big house, but in English, it's the big blue house.
Exactly. In English, we put size before color, and that's something to practice.
And let's not forget about polite phrases. Germans might be too direct in English.
Yes. Instead of give me the salt, we say, could you please pass the salt?
Exactly. Being polite is important in English, and we use more indirect language.
Let's try more examples. Whose book is this? Sounds natural, not to whom belongs this book?
Right. And instead of saying I know him since 5 years, we say, I have known him for 5 years.
Exactly. Time expressions are tricky, but with practice, they become comfortable.
Hopefully this should be an interesting video for German speakers learning English.
Yes. These tips will help them truly become fluent in English.
If you have any questions, you can comment below. We're happy to help.
And don't forget to subscribe. Learning English is a fun adventure.
Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. More lessons are coming soon. Bye.